Hey there, this is Aiden Fitzsimons, and I'm here today to talk a bit more about Walt Whitman. So today we're just going to read like a really short little stanza, but really, really important for philosophers of democracy, and for anyone who is involved in democracy, and just anyone in general. So, Song of Myself, which I've said before, I think is the best piece of American art ever made, and if I can inspire any one of you viewers to go online and look it up for free yourself. It's a long poem, but totally worth it. Song of Myself by Whitman is just the best thing I've ever read. And if I was alone on a desert island, I'd be really happy with it. But anyway, stanza 17 is really important, so I'm just going to read that to you guys today, and ask some questions about it to get you guys thinking about some important questions about language and democracy. So this is stanza 17. These really are the thoughts of all men and women in all ages and lands. They are not original with me. If they are not yours as much as mine, they are nothing, or next to nothing. If they are not the riddle and the untying of the riddle, they are nothing. If they are not just as close as they are distant, they are nothing. This is the grass that grows wherever the land is and the water is. This the common air that bathes the globe. So yeah, that's it. That's it right there, stanza 17. I'll give you a second to linger on it. And then we're gonna, analyze it a little bit together, just to see what we can think about here. So, this stanza invites us to think about language as a universal thing, language as something shared, thoughts as something shared. So normally, we think of copyrights, right? Like, oh, that's like, these are my words. Like, I'm McDonald's and I have patented the words. I'm loving it, But Whitman, who's creating such unique poetry and unique words and unique ideas and putting them out there, he's saying, these are really the thoughts of all men in all ages and lands. They are not original with me. If they are not yours as much as mine, they are nothing. So he's making a point about the nature of language. Language is inherently social. It's inherently a product of the species, not of the individual. It's something that the tribe, the group, the nation, the family, the social whole, the larger group whole, gives to the individual, not vice versa. And it's because of language being that way, it's inherently democratic in the sense that what a word means is agreed upon by all. I mean, if we called this a flubbity-doo, or if I called this a flubbity-doo, you'd be like, what? Like, I don't know what that means. But if I call this a water bottle, all of a sudden we're in that common air that bathes the globe. We're in the world of language. We're in the world of social management of meaning. We're in this attempt at universality. Whitman implies here that all languages attempt universality, as in the same way that a computer with ones and zeros attempts to, take in the whole universe, so does language. Language is this way of computing the world, this way of representing anything. And the goal with language is totality. The goal is universality. The goal is fully sharing everything. And so Whitman here talking about, these really are the thoughts of all men, ages, and lands. They're not original with me. If they are not yours as much as mine, they are nothing or next to nothing. So, like, if the words don't have meaning to you, then they don't have meaning to me. It needs to be a social thing. It needs to be agreed upon. It needs to be this shared thing, or else it's nothing. Language only works in the way that it's shared. If they're not the riddle and the untying of the riddle, they are nothing. The relationship of information, like, language is at once environment and organism. It is at once the asker and the answerer. If they are not just as close as they are distant, they are nothing. So language brings anything that's far away from you up close to you. If you just say London, all of a sudden you can see Big Ben and the Tower and London Bridge or whatever and all this stuff. So language is something that's always instantly touchable. It collapses distance. This is the grass that grows wherever the land is and the water is. This the common air that bathes the globe. So Whitman's poems, Leaves of Grass, this is the grass. This is the stuff that grows out of his chest, that grows out of his body, just by breathing in the air and the water, just by breathing in this universal language, by having the universal language pass through him, this common grass grows out of him, and it's universal, it's shared by everyone. It's not owned by any one person, it's not anyone's property, it's certainly not his property, it's your property, it's a democratic gift to all. And there's a lot of implications. If we think about language in this way, if we think about language as something that's inherently universally shared, inherently owned by no one and owned by everyone, it really changes how we see a lot of the way that our society negotiates language, negotiates information. You know, for example, there's a lot of websites with these pay blocks, like JSTOR is a big example. When you guys do research papers in high school and college, you'll have to use JSTOR, which is this database for all of you know, the academic papers, the theses, and journal entries that have been published by academics in all sorts of fields. And you can search this database and use it for your research, and it's very useful. However, you have to pay for it, or your institution has to pay for it. And so that means, for most people, they have no access to most of the knowledge that the human species has put together. They have no access to this specialized information that's coming out, the new things that are happening. So unless you're like getting paid by your school to be involved in this, you're not involved in it. And I think that's wrong and undemocratic. I'll leave you guys with that. This is a 6.5 minutes video, but as an extension of this, you might want to Google Aaron Swartz. Aaron Swartz, he, A-A-R-O-N, you'll find him on Google. He's the guy who invented Reddit. He's also just this really smart computer programmer, hacker guy from the mid-2000s. And basically his big crusade before he died was to try to get JSTOR and other academic institutions to open up access, because he believed that everyone has the right to the shared knowledge of the human species, regardless of ability to pay. And I believe the same thing. And while we're all at home, you know, with just our computers as access in the world, I think it's definitely time we start thinking about making access to information more democratic. Anyway, I hope that got you thinking about language and democracy and shared meanings and the quest for universality, because that's what Whitman wants to do. All right, anyway, till next time.